I need to tell someone what I did, and you're going to think I'm a terrible person, but there's something about being pushed to your absolute limit that nobody understands until it happens to them. Everyone's calling me cruel, saying I'm heartless and manipulative, but they don't know the real reason I said what I said that night. And the worst part? The thing that actually makes me lie awake at 3 a.m. isn't what you think it is. If I don't tell this story properly, you'll never understand why I'm sitting here 3 weeks later, staring at my phone with 17 unanswered calls to Marcus, knowing he's never going to pick up. But once you know what I know, once you understand what was really happening in that relationship, you'll see why those words came out of my mouth. Maybe you'll still think I'm awful. Probably you will, but at least you'll know the whole truth. I'm going to tell you everything, including the part where I knew exactly what I was doing when I said it. And the thing that makes me look worst, I'm saving that for later because you need to understand how we got there first. You need to see what he did, what I was dealing with, and why I felt like I was suffocating. Marcus and I had been together for 8 months when it happened. 8 months of what everyone on the outside thought was this perfect, healthy relationship. We met at a friend's barbecue, one of those sticky July afternoons where everyone's drinking beer and pretending the heat isn't oppressive. He was sweet, attentive. He asked questions and actually listened to the answers, which honestly felt revolutionary after my ex, Devin. God, even typing his name makes my chest tight. We'd been together for 3 years and it was intense in every possible way. The highs were stratospheric and the lows were catastrophic. He was confident to the point of arrogance, the kind of man who walked into a room and everyone noticed. He had opinions about everything and wasn't afraid to share them. He made decisions quickly and stuck to them. And yes, he was controlling. He chose where we went, what we did, sometimes even what I wore. I know how that sounds, I know. But there was something about being with someone so certain of themselves. Someone who never second-guessed or wavered. Someone who just took charge. When we finally broke up, after the third massive fight about him making plans without consulting me, everyone in my life threw a party. Not literally, but close. My best friend Sarah actually said, "Thank God I can finally tell you I hated him." My mom started leaving articles about narcissistic personality disorder on my Facebook wall. Very subtle, Mom. So when I met Marcus, I thought I was doing it right this time. He was considerate. He asked what I wanted to do. Checked in about my feelings. He was stable, employed, kind to waiters, liked my friends. On paper, he was everything I should have wanted. The first few months were good, really good. We'd have these long conversations about our goals and values. He'd bring me coffee in bed on weekends. We'd cook together and he'd always ask if I wanted to try his recipe or use mine. So thoughtful, right? But somewhere around month 4, something started to itch under my skin. Just little things at first. We'd be deciding where to have dinner and he'd say, "I don't mind, what do you want?" And I'd suggest something and he'd say, "Sure, if that's what you want." And I'd ask if he actually wanted that and he'd say, "I'm happy with whatever makes you happy." Which sounds nice, I know it sounds nice. Sarah would literally kill for a man who said things like that, but it started to feel like playing tennis against a mattress. No resistance, no pushback, just soft agreement that left me feeling weirdly frustrated. I thought I was being crazy. Here was this man who respected my opinions and autonomy, and I was annoyed about it. After years of fighting with Devin about his need to control everything, I told myself I was just adjusting, that I'd been conditioned by toxic relationship patterns and needed to rewire my brain. By month 6, it was getting worse. We'd be watching TV, and he'd ask what I wanted to watch. I'd throw it back to him, and he'd insist he didn't care. Not in a generous way, but in a way that felt like there was no one home behind his eyes. Like he genuinely had no preference about anything. In bed, he'd ask what I wanted him to do, every time. "Does this feel good? Should I keep going? Do you want to try something else?" I started to feel like a director choreographing a scene rather than a participant in intimacy. And I felt like a monster for being annoyed about a man asking for consent and checking in. One night I snapped at him, "Can you just do something without asking me first?" He looked genuinely confused. "I'm trying to make sure you're comfortable." "I know, but sometimes I want you to just take initiative, be spontaneous." "Okay," he said, "I can do that. Do you want me to start now?" I actually laughed, which hurt his feelings. I apologized immediately, tried to explain that asking permission to be spontaneous defeated the purpose, but I could see him shutting down. That became a pattern. Anytime I tried to express frustration, he'd apologize, ask what I wanted him to do differently, and then wait for detailed instructions on how to modify his behavior. Just when I thought things couldn't get more suffocating, he started asking if we were okay. Multiple times a day. "Are you mad at me? Did I do something wrong? You seem quiet, is everything all right?" And the thing is, I hadn't been upset until the 5th time he asked in 3 hours. I started avoiding him, taking longer at work, making plans with friends, anything to get some breathing room, which of course he noticed and asked about. "I feel like you've been distant. Do you want to talk about it? Are you having second thoughts about us?" Sarah told me I was being unreasonable. "He's anxious, that's all, he just needs reassurance." Do you know how many women would kill for a man who actually cares about their feelings? But here's what I couldn't explain to Sarah. What I could barely admit to myself, I missed feeling like my partner was a fully formed person with their own desires and opinions. I missed the push and pull of two strong personalities. I missed someone who would just make a decision and stick to it instead of this endless, exhausting negotiation of what do you want? No, what do you want? Until I wanted to scream. And worse, so much worse, I missed Devin. Not the relationship, not the fights or the control or the way he'd make plans with his friends and just inform me I was coming. But I missed the feeling of being with someone who felt solid, real, like a whole person instead of a reflection. I know how awful that sounds, I'm not proud of it, but I'm telling you the truth, which is what I promised. Month 7, Marcus started talking about moving in together, not declaring it, of course, asking. I've been thinking maybe we could look for a place together. If you want, no pressure, what do you think? I panicked. The thought of living with him, of this being every single day, made me feel like I was drowning. I said I thought it was too soon and he immediately backed off. Of course, totally understand. We can table it. Just let me know when you're ready, or if you're never ready, that's okay too. That, or if you're never ready, things started happening a lot. Anytime I expressed hesitation about anything, he'd give me an out so readily that it felt like he had no investment in the outcome. Like he was just along for whatever ride I wanted to take him on. I started picking fights. Not consciously at first, but looking back, that's absolutely what I was doing. I'd express an opinion and then get frustrated when he agreed. I'd ask him to choose a restaurant and get annoyed when he couldn't. I was poking at him, trying to find something solid underneath all that accommodation. Everyone online thought I was fine, but privately I was Googling things like boyfriend too agreeable, and is it bad that my partner is too nice, and feeling like an absolute garbage person. The articles were all about how to appreciate a considerate partner, how to heal from past toxic relationships, how emotional abuse survivors sometimes mistake healthy behavior for weakness. That last one haunted me. Was that what I was doing? Had Devin damaged me so badly that I couldn't recognize healthy love? I thought I was fixing things by being more patient, but really I was building resentment. Every whatever you want, babe, and I'm fine with anything felt like another brick in a wall between us. 2 months ago, things came to a head at his friend's wedding. We were at the reception, and the couple's first dance was to this classical piece, something dramatic and romantic. I made a casual comment about what song I might want if I ever got married. Marcus immediately pulled out his phone and started a note. Tell me more, I want to remember this. Something about that just broke me. Marcus, I'm just making conversation, I'm not giving you wedding instructions. I know, I just thought, you don't have to document every preference I express, you're allowed to just have a conversation. He put the phone away, looking embarrassed. Sorry, you're right. We sat in silence for a minute, watching couples dance. Then he asked, are you happy with us? I wanted to scream. Instead, I excused myself to the bathroom, where I locked myself in a stall and tried to figure out why I felt like crying. Here was a man who listened, who cared, who was actively trying to be a good partner, and I was falling apart. In the bathroom, I ran into his cousin, who I'd met a few times. She was touching up her makeup and chatting about the wedding. Then she said, you're so good for Marcus, his ex really did a number on him. I must have looked confused because she continued. His ex-girlfriend Vanessa, total nightmare. She constantly criticized him, told him he was too passive, too boring. She'd get angry when he had opinions and angry when he didn't. Really messed with his head. My stomach dropped. When did they break up? About a year before he met you. He was in therapy for months. He's come so far. I felt sick. Suddenly, all of his behavior looked different. He wasn't just naturally agreeable. He was performing a version of himself that felt safe. Every what do you want wasn't consideration, it was self-protection. He'd been criticized into this shape and I was resenting him for it. I went back to the table determined to be better, more patient, more appreciative. But knowing the reason behind his behavior somehow made it worse. Now I wasn't just frustrated, I was guilty about being frustrated. And he could sense my mood shift, which of course led to more "are you okay" questions. The week after the wedding, I did something I'm not proud of. I texted Devin, not anything inappropriate, just a casual "hey, hope you're doing well" thing. He responded immediately, and we fell into this easy banter that reminded me of when we first got together. Quick wit, the verbal sparring, the way he'd make these bold statements just to get a reaction out of me. It was just texting. I told myself it was just texting, but I was getting something from those conversations that I wasn't getting from Marcus, and I knew that was wrong. I didn't tell Marcus about it, which meant I knew it was wrong. Sarah caught me smiling at my phone one day at lunch. Who's that? No one, just a funny tweet. She grabbed my phone and saw Devin's name. Her face went hard. Are you kidding me right now? You're talking to Devin. It's not like that, we're just chatting. Does Marcus know? I didn't answer, which was an answer. Jesus Christ, Sarah said. You have a good man who treats you well and you're texting your toxic ex. What are you doing? I wanted to explain that it wasn't about Devin specifically. It was about feeling like I was having a conversation with someone who pushed back, who had strong opinions, who felt real. But I couldn't find the words that wouldn't make me sound completely insane. I stopped texting Devin, deleted the conversation. Threw myself into being more present with Marcus, but the feeling of wrongness kept growing. 3 weeks ago on a Tuesday night, everything fell apart. We were at my apartment cooking dinner together. Except together meant I was making decisions and he was asking questions. Should I dice these onions or slice them? Do you want me to use the red wine or white? How much garlic do you think? I was already tense because I'd had a terrible day at work. My boss had criticized a project I'd worked on for weeks and I just wanted to zone out and not make any more decisions. Marcus, can you just cook how you think is best? I just want to make sure it's how you like it. I like food prepared however. Okay, but you usually prefer, oh my god, please just make a decision. He stepped back from the cutting board, hands up. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you. And there it was again. The immediate apology, the retreat, the walking on eggshells. I felt like I was being smothered by all that careful consideration. Do you have any opinions of your own? I snapped. Or are you just going to spend the rest of your life asking me what I want? His face went pale. That's not fair. I'm trying to be respectful of your preferences. No, you're trying to avoid conflict by never standing for anything. I stand for things. I just also care about what you want. Name one thing you feel strongly about, one opinion you have that you wouldn't immediately abandon if I disagreed. He was quiet for a long moment. I don't think relationships should be about winning arguments. I think they should be about compromise and consideration. That's not an opinion, that's a greeting card. I watched something shift in his expression, a hardness I'd never seen before. What do you want from me? You want me to be more like your ex? The guy who told you what to do and didn't care what you thought? So he knew. Of course he knew. I must have mentioned Devon's controlling behavior at some point. At least Devon felt like a real person. The words were out before I could stop them. Marcus went very still. What does that mean? I should have backed down. I should have apologized. But 8 months of frustration came pouring out. It means I never had to wonder what he was thinking or feeling. He had opinions. He made decisions. He was present and solid, and I knew who he was. He was controlling and dismissive of you. Yes, and that was wrong, but at least he was something. You're so busy trying to be whatever you think I want that there's nothing actually there. Marcus's voice went quiet. I'm trying to be a good partner. You're trying to be a doormat, and I can't do this anymore. I can't be with someone who won't even have a preference about dinner. This is about more than dinner. Yeah, it is. It's about the fact that I feel like I'm in a relationship with myself because you've got no personality beyond accommodating me. He picked up his jacket from the back of the chair, carefully, quietly. I should go. Part of me wanted him to stay and fight, to push back, to defend himself, to show some fire. Instead, he was leaving, proving my point. That's when I said it. Devon was more of a man than you'll ever be. I don't know where it came from. I don't know what I thought would happen. But I wanted to hurt him the way I was hurting. I wanted to crack through that careful exterior and make him feel something explosive. Marcus looked at me like I'd slapped him. For a second I thought he might actually yell. I wanted him to yell. But instead he nodded once like something had been confirmed and walked out. He didn't slam the door. That somehow made it worse. I stood in my kitchen with half-chopped onions on the cutting board and my phone in my hand. I waited for the angry text, the late-night call, something. I wanted the big blowout fight, the dramatic confrontation, the thing that would feel like a release. Nothing came. I texted him the next morning. I'm sorry, can we talk? Delivered, read, no response. I called, it rang through to voicemail. I left a message apologizing, saying I didn't mean it, I was just upset and said something awful. No response. I texted again that evening. Please Marcus, I know I messed up. Let me explain. Read, no response. The silence was driving me insane. This passive non-response felt worse than any screaming match. I wanted him to tell me I was awful, to call me names, to give me something to push against. Instead, nothing. Sarah called me 2 days later. What did you do? What do you mean? Marcus's friend Jake just asked me if you and Marcus broke up. What happened? I told her. The whole fight, the terrible thing I said, all of it. The silence on the other end of the line was damning. Finally, that's the cruelest thing I've ever heard you say. I know, I feel awful, but he won't answer my calls. Good for him, why would he? Sarah, no, seriously, you compared him to your abusive ex and said the abusive ex was more of a man. What response are you expecting? What could he possibly say to that? Devon wasn't abusive, he was just controlling, dismissive, and manipulative. You said so yourself, multiple times. Now you're romanticizing it because Marcus isn't enough of an asshole for you. That's not what I'm doing. Then what are you doing? Because from here it looks like you're sabotaging a healthy relationship because you're addicted to drama. I hung up on her, then immediately felt terrible about that too. Day 3 I showed up at Marcus's apartment. His car was there, so I knew he was home. I knocked, waited, knocked again. Marcus, please, I know you're in there, I just want to talk. Nothing. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it. I was upset and I said something horrible and I've regretted it every second since. The door didn't open, but I heard movement inside. He was there. He was just choosing not to engage. I knocked again. Please don't shut me out, let me apologize properly. Silence. I stood there for 20 minutes like a crazy person, periodically knocking and pleading. A neighbor walked by and gave me a concerned look. I finally left. That night I did something worse. I texted Devon, did I make a mistake leaving you? He responded within minutes. Where's this coming from? I told him about the fight with Marcus. Not the exact words, just that we'd had a bad argument and he wasn't speaking to me. Sounds like he can't handle a real woman, Devin wrote. You need someone who can match your energy. It felt validating in the moment. Someone agreeing that I wasn't crazy, that my frustration was legitimate. We texted back and forth for an hour, falling into old patterns. He told me he'd changed, been working on himself, realized how good we were together. I knew it was bullshit. Some part of me knew, but I wanted to believe it because the alternative was sitting with what I'd done to Marcus. Day 5, I tried calling Marcus again. This time it went straight to voicemail. He'd blocked me. I felt panic like I've never experienced. The finality of being blocked, of having no way to reach him, made everything real in a way it hadn't been before. This wasn't just a fight we'd worked through. This was over. I created a fake Instagram account to look at his page. He'd posted a story, just a photo of a sunset with no caption. The comments were full of friends asking if he was okay. His cousin had written, "You deserve better, stay strong." I wanted to defend myself in the comments. I wanted to explain that they didn't know the whole story, that he wasn't blameless here, that his passivity had been driving me crazy for months. But what would I even say? Actually, he was too nice to me, so I compared him to my controlling ex. I texted Sarah. He blocked me. Good, she replied. You're supposed to be my friend. I am your friend, that's why I'm telling you that you need to leave him alone and get therapy. I don't need therapy. You just blew up a healthy relationship because you're more comfortable with dysfunction. Yes, you need therapy. Day 7, I saw Devin. He suggested coffee and I agreed because I couldn't stand being alone with my thoughts anymore. He looked good, he always looked good. Confident smile, easy posture, the way he made eye contact that felt intense and focused. So your new guy can't handle you, he said, not quite smirking. It's more complicated than that. It always is with you. He said it affectionately, like my complexity was charming rather than exhausting. We talked for 2 hours. He apologized for how things ended between us, said he'd been working on his control issues, that he understood now how he'd made me feel small sometimes. He said all the right things. I miss you, he said. I miss us, the passion, the intensity, we were good together. We fought constantly. We felt things, isn't that better than being bored? And God help me, in that moment, it sounded right. Better to feel too much than too little. Better to fight than to float along in careful consideration. He reached across the table and took my hand. Give me another chance, let me show you I've changed. I almost said yes, I was so close to saying yes. But then my phone buzzed, a text from Marcus's cousin. I don't know what happened between you two, but Marcus is really hurting. He's the best guy I know and I've never seen him this broken. I hope it was worth it. I pulled my hand back from Devin's. What's wrong? He asked. I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw it clearly for the first time. The way he'd steered the entire conversation. The way he'd positioned himself as the solution to my problem. The way he'd subtly put Marcus down without knowing anything about him. The way he'd made it all about us, our passion, our intensity, with no acknowledgement of why that intensity had been toxic. Nothing had changed. He'd just gotten better at packaging the same behavior. I need to go, I said. Come on, don't be like that. Stay, let's figure this out. There's nothing to figure out, this was a mistake. I left him at the coffee shop and drove home, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. That night I did what I should have done from the beginning. I wrote Marcus a letter, an actual physical letter, because email felt too easy to ignore. I didn't make excuses, I didn't ask for forgiveness. I just told him the truth. I told him that I'd been unfair, that I'd projected my unresolved issues onto him, that what I'd said was inexcusable. I told him about Devin's controlling behavior, and how I'd somehow confused dominance with strength. I told him that his kindness and consideration weren't weaknesses, they were signs of actual emotional health that I apparently wasn't mature enough to appreciate. I told him I didn't expect him to respond, that I just needed him to know I understood how badly I'd messed up. I mailed it and felt emptier than before. Sarah came over the next day with wine and Thai food. We didn't talk about Marcus at first. She just let me exist in my misery, which was its own kind of friendship. Finally, she said, "You know what the worst part is? Tell me. You had what so many people are looking for. Someone emotionally available, considerate, and kind. And you couldn't see it because it didn't feel like what you were used to. I know, do you? Because you need to figure out why you're attracted to dysfunction, why you need conflict and control to feel like something's real." I started crying then, ugly tears that I'd been holding back for days. I don't know what's wrong with me. Nothing's wrong with you, you're just stuck in patterns that don't serve you, but you have to want to change them. I do. Then actually do the work, get a therapist. Figure out why drama feels like love to you. Stop dating anyone until you do. I nodded, knowing she was right. Day 12, Marcus sent me an email, not a long one. I got your letter, I appreciate the apology, but I need you to understand something. I wasn't being passive or weak. I was trying to build a relationship based on mutual respect instead of power dynamics. I was trying to be different from what you'd experienced before, and you punished me for it. I hope you figure out what you actually want, because it clearly wasn't me. Please don't contact me again. That was it. No door left open, no room for negotiation, just a clear boundary and a goodbye. I read it 50 times looking for some hint of softness, some crack I could wedge my way into. There was nothing. I wanted to write back, to explain more, to beg for another chance. But that's what the old me would have done. The me who needed constant engagement and drama. Instead, I respected his boundary. The first healthy thing I'd done in months. I found a therapist the next week, an older woman with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. I told her everything, including the parts that made me look worst. "What do you think you said what you said?" she asked. I wanted to hurt him. Why? Because I was hurting and I wanted him to hurt too. I wanted him to fight back and show me he cared. And when he left instead, I don't know. It felt like he was proving my point, that he wouldn't fight for us. Or he was showing self-respect by refusing to engage with cruelty. I sat with that for a long time. "You know what I'm realizing?" I said. "Devin made me feel small, but in a weird way that felt safe. I knew my place in that relationship. With Marcus, we were equals and I didn't know what to do with that. The power was balanced and that felt unstable somehow." "That's very insightful," she said. "Keep going with that." We talked about my parents' relationship. My dad had been loud and domineering and my mom had been quietly resentful. Their dynamic had been my blueprint for what relationships looked like. Love meant conflict. Passion meant volatility. Calm meant something was wrong. Marcus had offered me something different and I'd been too damaged to receive it. It's been 3 weeks now. I've blocked Devin on everything. I've stopped checking Marcus's social media through fake accounts. I've been going to therapy twice a week. Everyone online still sees the photos of Marcus and me together. I haven't deleted them. Some mutual friends have asked what happened and I've just said it didn't work out. I haven't told them what I said, how I destroyed something good because I didn't recognize its value. Sarah's been supportive but firm. She doesn't let me wall or romanticize the relationship. When I start talking about what I miss, she reminds me of the work I need to do before I'm ready for any relationship. My therapist asked me yesterday what I learned from all this. That I'm capable of real cruelty when I'm hurting, I said, and that I need to fix what's broken in me before I inflict it on someone else. What else? That kindness isn't weakness, that consideration isn't the same as passivity, that someone asking what you want isn't the same as having no opinions of their own. Do you believe that? I'm trying to. The hardest part isn't the missing Marcus, though I do. It's the knowing that I had something real and healthy and I destroyed it because it didn't feel like my broken template for love. It's knowing that he tried to show me a different way and I mocked him for it. I saw him 2 days ago, at a grocery store of all places. He was in the produce section and I froze. He looked good. Lighter, somehow like a weight had been lifted. He saw me. For a second our eyes met. I wanted to say something, to apologize again, to tell him I'm working on myself. But I didn't. I respected his boundary and turned down a different aisle. Later in the parking lot I sat in my car and cried. Not because I expected us to get back together, but because I finally understood what I'd lost. Not just Marcus, but the opportunity to learn how to be loved well. I called my therapist from the parking lot, even though it wasn't our scheduled time. "I saw him," I said. "How did that feel?" "Like seeing everything I could have had if I'd been healthier." That's grief. Sit with it. Don't run from it. So that's where I am now. Sitting with the grief and the shame and the understanding that I have years of work ahead of me. The thing nobody tells you about being the villain in your own story is how much it hurts. I wanted to be the wronged party, the one who was justified in her frustration. But I was just someone too broken to accept healthy love. People keep asking if I think Marcus will ever talk to me again. I don't know. I hope someday he can forgive me, even if we never speak again. I hope he finds someone who appreciates what he offers instead of resenting it. And the part I haven't told anyone, not even my therapist yet. Sometimes late at night I draft texts to him. Long explanations about my progress in therapy, about the patterns I'm recognizing, about how I finally understand what he was trying to give me. I never send them. Because this isn't about getting him back. It's about becoming someone who would deserve him in the first place. I told him my ex was more of a man and he left without a word and won't answer my calls. Everyone thinks he ghosted me because he was weak. But the truth is he showed more strength in walking away than I've shown in anything I've done. And that's the thing I need to live with. Not just that I said something cruel, but that I said it because I genuinely believed it in that moment. I had confused aggression with strength, accommodation with weakness, and healthy boundaries with cowardice. I'm learning now that real strength is knowing you're worth enough to walk away from someone who doesn't see it. Real strength is choosing respect over passion. Real strength is what Marcus showed when he refused to engage with my cruelty and simply left. I wasn't ready for him. Maybe I never will be, but at least now I'm trying to become someone who could be. That's all I can do. Try to be better than the person who said those words. Try to understand why I said them. Try to make sure I never mistake healthy love for weakness again. I don't know if this story has a happy ending. I don't know if I'll ever be ready for the kind of relationship Marcus was offering. I don't know if he thinks about me or if he's moved on completely. What I do know is that I destroyed something precious because I was too damaged to recognize its value. And now I get to live with that, work through it, and hope that someday I'll be capable of accepting the kind of love I rejected. If you take anything from this, let it be this: sometimes the healthiest thing someone can do is walk away from you, and sometimes you deserve it.